Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yucks, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers they pluck. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.
Hi, I'm Adam Heath Avitable.
And I'm Sarah.
This is the DKS Podcast, a podcast about love, sex, culture, and society. This week, we'll be talking about tone policing. Is it time to stop being nice to men? Enjoy the show.
And hey, YouTube, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any important updates, aka more episodes and videos.
That's right. I haven't even done any shorts recently, too.
Yeah.
But here we are, and I'm finally on the same time zone as you.
It's so nice, actually.
It is. I can't get used to the time zone. I keep waking up at like 6 a.m., which is weird because I was only 1 hour earlier. Or 1 hour, yeah. And
you weren't waking up at 7 when you were in Utah?
Very rarely. So I don't understand what's happening, but maybe it's because I'm on the road. But by the time everybody hears this, I will be, just be about to leave Portland and head to Seattle.
About damn time.
I know. And we got big things happening in Seattle.
We do, actually, coming up on Thursday, June 29th. Adam, tell us what's happening on that special date. We have
a really fun free meetup with Sarah and I at the Graduate Hotel in Seattle. And we're going to be doing, it's from 6 to 8 on Thursday, June 29th. And there's going to be a little cocktail hour, and then we're going to have some merch to give away. And then probably for the last hour, we're going to just record a live episode with whoever's there as our audience. So yeah, we're really looking forward to it. We'd really like it to be a packed audience and really kind of show the graduate too that, like, hey, look at the people we can bring. So if you have not yet registered, we'd like you
even
to
though
make
it's
free.
It
is free. But still make a reservation through the website. There's going to be a link in the show notes, but it's you can also just go to the Graduate Seattle's hotel, their website, go to their happenings page. It's very easy to find, and
you can come late too. Like if work's an issue and getting there on time, you can come a little later. We're not going to start recording right at 6, or starting the show right at 6. We'll be mingling and just chatting about bullshit. So
yeah, and you can bring your friends. It isn't something it's only because only for you, but it's for anyone who wants to come. And we'd love to have a good audience there, and that'll make it for a more entertaining show. And if you show up and you have a question to ask or something, that's even better. But I'm not even going to put that onus on anyone because
Adam will create the question.
Well, yeah, we'll have prepared stuff just in case. But I really want this to be a fun, interactive experience, and it'll be our first meetup since the ones we've done in Florida. So once again, that's Thursday, June 29th. Look in the show notes right now. You can see a link to where to register, and please RSVP so that the hotel also has an idea of who
capacity.
Yeah, exactly. So other than
that,
I've been on the road. And
have you been liking it?
I have. It's been, it's definitely after almost a full year in a place where I felt settled and comfortable, and it rearranged all the furniture to how I like so that I can work. And
you had a home,
basically, and now kind of moving into different places and trying to set up every time. And it's interesting. Like I'm in a very cute Airbnb right now. The downfall being that it's just like very cute, decorated with all types of cool stuff. There's not a lot of room for my stuff, and there's not really a good desk area. So I have my computer set up on a little bookcase that that I have to sit here. There's no knee space for me to sit. It's kind of interesting. So I actually I'm sitting here doing you can't even tell, but I'm like doing like a knee split basically, just to be able to sit close to the microphone. So yeah, it's there's some ups and downs.
Desk space always sucks when you travel because it's not the desk that you like. You're never gonna have the right chair or the right, you know what I mean?
And that's at least one advantage I think when I stay in hotels. Is hotels are going to be a little more amenable to that because they're used to people working from hotels, so at least they tend to have plenty of desk space and chair options and things like that. So but I did have an experience coming into Seattle. I'm sorry, coming into Portland. I went to Bend for a week which was very nice. I left my Airbnb twice for the entire week I was there.
You did so much exploring.
Oh
Wow.
yeah, hey, I left twice. That's more than I usually do. And I went to visit the last Blockbuster on Earth, which is in Bend, on my way out of
That's
town.
cool.
That was very nice. And then coming into Portland, I had a night between my Airbnb in Bend and my Airbnb in Portland, and I was waiting for so I had to find a hotel. So I had booked one through a discount site that it was great. I mean, it was a very cheap rate for a hotel, and I was like, that'll be perfect. I don't want to spend a lot of money on just a one nighter. But as I'm pulling
Red
into
flag. Immediate red flag. Too
uh,
cheap of a rate. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't really look at the ratings of the hotel. I think was the problem. I just looked at the price. I sorted by price and just like chose the cheapest one, which is not a thing you should ever do. And so I get to the hotel. I start pulling down the street where the hotel is, and I'm like, oh, I don't know about staying here.
On
Like,
the phone with me.
yeah, yeah. And what am I saying to you? I'm like,
You're like, I don't know about this. This might not be good. I think I see it up there. I don't really like this. And I'm like, wait, did you look before you booked this?
did not look, did not, and until I saw the giant half broken neon motel sign, and it was conveniently right next to a Planned Parenthood, which I am glad that Planned Parenthoods are around. I support them entirely, but I don't necessarily want to live next to one. It just did not feel like lots of pawn shops right around. It was just as an area that I was like, I
Not
don't
an
want
area for tourists.
to. Yeah,
Yeah.
and not an area that I necessarily want to have my car with all of my things and all my earthly possessions parked like in the parking lot of. If there was a garage or something, it might have been one thing, but since there wasn't, yeah. So I basically stopped on the side of the street and pulled up my app and like booked a room in a Marriott nearby and went to that instead. And that was much better. I will say that.
So what have we learned?
I mean, I'm saying discount sites are still worth it, but you have to look at the hotel reviews and maybe look at photos of the place too. And that might
Bare
be
minimum, dude.
yes, at a bare minimum. I know. I know. I was, yeah, that was a lesson, but then my hotel was fantastic, and couldn't complain about that, and got to meet up with a friend I hadn't seen in almost 20 years. So that was nice. And so it's been good. I'm going to see, I saw somebody else too. Actually, she was someone I dated back in Florida. We called her the eccentric.
I remember.
Yeah. So she and I went out Saturday night. And
Wait, did you go to a strip club or did I just black out when I was on the phone with you?
I did go to the strip club. So Saturday night, she and I went out for we met at a bar for a drink and just kind of catch up. And then she had plans already for the rest of the night. And so she suggested we went to, I don't remember, the place was called the Sweet Hereafter in Portland, and it was very cool places. Apparently, it was a vegan restaurant. I didn't order any food, and then she suggested I go to this place called the Triple Nickel Diner, or Triple Nickel Pub. Triple, yeah. And so for food, so I went there. They were two packed, and I was like, let me just pull up strip clubs. And so I found the
Good old
I found the Lucky Devil Lounge that has a full menu as well. And I went in there, and I was there from like, I don't know, 8:30 at night till almost 2 a.m. It was a great time. Sat at the bar mostly, had some food, drank all night. My bill was only like $60 for all night drinking and food. I ordered like and chicken strips and fries, and later on the night ordered chips and salsa. And yeah,
Did you just say the strip club was weird though because they weren't in their normal stripper attire?
Well, it wasn't in their normal. Apparently in Portland it is normal. I just noticed at one point that one of the girls got on stage and she was wearing sneakers.
Like Converse sneakers.
Yeah, just like white, like just like white normal sneakers with like with socks and it pulled up just a little bit, and
like fully nude, but just
not. She started off with clothes on, and then we just started dancing, and but then got fully naked, except for her shoes on, which I was like, it was kind of funny because it was not something I'd ever seen. And I mean, I guess when they dance with the heels, they also keep those on. Usually they're not barefoot.
right.
So, but with sneakers, it just was a very different look. And it actually showed you how tall or short the dancers really are, because some of these dancers, they're wearing like 9-inch heels. And so they're like 5'3", but they look like they're 6 feet tall. But these are just so there were a few dancers like that, and then a few that wore more traditional outfits, and it was a fun experience. They were all very friendly. I chatted with a couple. I bought some dances. I spend too much money, as I usually do, supporting the local single mom population. And it was a good time, and I'm glad I got the experience to head out there and check it out. I might try to go out to another one before I leave Portland, but the chances of me leaving here again in another evening is slim to none, I think.
Why? The sun's out later, the weather's okay. Why not?
First of all, the sun being out is not like a selling point, Sarah.
It's
Like,
a big selling point for me,
I
okay?
mean,
There's no excuses.
yeah, I'll try, but like, I've got work to do during the day, and then by the time I'm like done working, I really just am like, I don't want to go be like social or even antisocial somewhere. It was funny when we went to this place, the Sweet Hereafter. I walked in. It's an outside place that has like a giant patio, and the sun was still out and everything. And then inside is a little bar that's all dark and like cool. And so I go and sit in the inside bar, and then and then she comes in. The eccentric, they come in, and I was like, I know that if you'd gotten here first, we would have been sitting outside. And they're like, absolutely. And so I said, well, I'm glad I got here first then, because I chose the dark, cool interior.
It's a crime, especially when the weather's nice. It's a crime to sit inside.
No,
Rude.
thank you. I want to hide away from the sun. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I know in Seattle I have a couple things to do, so I'll be out a little bit more, obviously, other than just our meetup. But like,
I was gonna say, are the things to do just the meetup?
no, there's a few places that I want to visit, and also, I figured at some point you're probably going to drag me out somewhere.
Oh no, don't look at me.
Yeah, I expect you to.
No, don't blame me for shit. Absolutely
I
not.
expect you
No.
to make me do something. I need someone to make me do things. Otherwise, I just stay in there. So you don't want me to waste my trip to
No,
Seattle, do you?
because what happens when you hang out with me, you shit on my car. You're like, I can never get in this little clown car. And then anything we do, you're like, oh, you don't eat bacon, or oh, there's
I
some
do not.
or my outfit. There'll be some comment about my outfit, what I'll eat, or my car.
I
Those
mean, your
those are
car
given.
is a little toy box. It is hilarious that
It's
that.
perfect for parking in big cities. Let me tell
Yeah,
you.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure you can just, like we said, put it in your pocket. You can park sideways into a parallel parking space. It's fantastic.
I can't do that, but
pretty much you almost can. Like, you almost could do that. As wide as some cars are, I feel like yours would almost do that. But yeah, I mean, do you remember me sitting in your car, just in your back? I mean, I would Uber
I was
wherever,
afraid
because
I was like, dude, your shoulders, you're just like a big,
I know, like, I
your shoulders were
filled like
boxing
your
out the whole
entire
car.
car. My head was like on the roof, like, touching the ceiling. It was pretty funny. But no, that's well, I'm hoping that now you've maybe evolved in your taste of bars and places that you like or something.
I
I don't
don't live
know.
in Nashville anymore, so
Right.
maybe
So
you
maybe you
might
have
like Seattle more. I
some
don't
good
know.
choices. I don't know. Or we can find a Seattle strip club.
I haven't been to one yet, so
See,
you be
there we
the
go.
guide there. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I got some good recommendations from somebody.
Of course
So,
you do.
huh?
Of course you do.
Yes. Well, there was someone who had me as a guest on her podcast. She's a dancer out of Vancouver, and she dances all around the Pacific Northwest professionally. And she also did a podcast on Mandy, the Angel at the Starlight Motel. So I was her guest, and I was talking to her, and she said, "Oh, try this place, And so she had some ideas. Yeah, you, me, and
To
Roy.
be,
That's what we're doing.
oh God, yeah, I'm sure Roy will love
I
that.
know, that's why I want to go. I want to see what Roy's like at a strip club.
Okay. I haven't been to a strip club with him actually,
I
so
know, it'll be a fun experience. So, anyways, that's what's going on in my life. I'm here in Portland, and then I'm going to be in Seattle, and then I'll be in Coeur d'Alene for a week, and then onwards. You can follow my stuff too if you're interested in meeting up in any of those areas where I am. You can go to my profile on Instagram, or whatever. I have a link that has my actual map with dates, so you can actually see where I'm going to be and when over the next 6 months.
busy.
I know. So, what's going on with you?
Well, I'm home from Alaska, so that was my big thing. I've been traveling and on vacation, I guess. Not as much travel, more vacation. Alaska was beautiful. Really loved it. My mom and I went. It's somewhere she's always wanted to visit. I just don't think I'm a cruise person after going on this cruise. I had so much fun until about day 5 because it was a 7-day cruise. And on day 5, we had another day at sea, and I just was like, what the fuck am I gonna do for a full day at sea? And then we stopped at Victoria. We stopped in Victoria, which is so close to Seattle. I was just like, I just want to go home. Like, I just want to get off this boat. Oh my gosh. Didn't get seasick. I got land sick after the fact. So getting off the boat and then going back to normal life actually fucked me over more than being on the ship. I had no problems when I was on the ship. So
right.
Yeah. I definitely was Alaska. Just cruises to Alaska tend to skew to an older demographic, and I'm not part of that older demographic, which, like, I don't mind being on a slower paced vacation with people who are older than me, but I just came across so many characters on the ship. Like, okay, and I think I've mentioned all of them to you at some point, but
right.
day 2 was a full day at sea, and I'm like, you know what? We can get ice cream whenever the hell we want. So I'm gonna go get ice cream. It was so great. So I went to go get ice cream, and there's this. He wasn't even, I wouldn't even say old. He was maybe in his early 50s. And he's talking to the girl complaining that they don't have enough ice cream toppings. They have 2 different types of sprinkles and a couple different syrups, but they didn't have Butterfinger and Reese's Pieces and M&Ms and all of these fucking flavors. So he's complaining to this poor woman, and he's like, well, on the Celebrity Apex, I had like 10 different flavors of this and 10 of this, and they mixed it all, and this is not what I expected from Celebrity Cruise Lines. And he turns to me and goes, you know, we need to really beef up our ice cream game here on the ship. He looks at me, I'm like, bro, what the? I am not the person to stick
beef up your ice cream game. Oh my God, that is fantastic.
So yeah, and they didn't have any more toppings for him or anything, but he was really upset when they said, no, sir, this is all we have. And I'm like, ooh, that sucks for you. And then there were lots of people touched me on the ship, which I was also very annoyed by. At first, I'm like, oh, how sweet. An older woman just kind of touched my shoulder. But it happened multiple times every fucking day. Just, I wore my
They were trying to steal your youth.
God, I never thought about that. But no, I was wearing this all green like sweater suit that you would probably hate. And this woman came up to me in the dining hall. She touches my shoulder. She goes, well, the Irish must just love you. Okay. Just the weird comments.
I feel like that's worse than anything I would say, by the way. Like that's the
Probably, yes. But so that was a comment. I saw an old guy yell at the hostess for trying to help him push him into his table at the dining room because the chairs were big and bulky and it's hard to kind of push yourself towards the table. And he yelled at her and said, stop touching my chair, step away right now and go back to your hostess stand. Don't touch me.
Damn.
And it was kind of quiet in the dining hall at that point too, and everyone just kind of looked around, and then we went back to ordering or looking at the menu. It was very weird, and people were also very adamant on who got the so obsessed with who got the better deal of the drink package or the cruise in general. Right. I got stuck at a table and people were comparing how much they paid for their cruise, and my mom and I are looking at each other like, what the fuck are they talking? Who fucking cares? You're on vacation. What?
Oh, that's right. I forgot that they will sit you at a table with random strangers.
That sucked. That sucked so bad. Most of the time they would see me, either I came by myself or with my mom, and they would seat us at a table by the window, and we would wait because we'd prefer that and just not to be seated at another table. But 2 or 3 times we had breakfast and lunch with other people who we didn't know. And it was it was so awkward because I don't want to fucking talk to you, number one. And number two, when we start talking, all I can think is, you guys are sucky. Like, you guys suck. I don't want to be around you at all. And, you know, everyone's like, oh, I got the drink package. We're getting a good deal on the drink package. And I turn like, yeah, are you drinking 10 drinks a day? That's the only way you're gonna make up for it, you know. And everyone just thought they got a good deal. Drink packages were everyone's personalities, a lot of people's personalities. People were walking around with shirts saying, caution, I bought the drink package. They had stickers or like magnets on their doors, so the room attendants knew that they bought the drink package. People had photos of all of their past cruise passes and had those plastered on their doors to say, I'm a cruiser, you know, don't fuck with. I don't know, it was odd. I don't think I'm gonna go on another cruise for a really long time. My last cruise was spring break when I was 21 years old, and then this one I'm 31. So 10 years later. I loved Alaska though, and I really want to go back to go see the Northern Lights in either the fall or the spring and explore Anchorage and Fairbanks. But It can't be on a cruise.
No, I feel like cruises are just like someone came up with an idea of how can we take the longest possible way to get to a beautiful destination for not enough time, and then trap you on a boat with a bunch of activities that you can only do one at a time because that's when they're available, and mediocre food with people that you're
I
stuck
didn't
with.
I didn't
And
think
like,
the food was mediocre. That was
well,
one
but like
really
the
good thing.
buffets, I mean, they're like the actual like dinners are usually good, but like when they, they have the buffets that are all the time or whatever, like I've never found it to be good. Like the pizzas or whatever, like they're usually all very much like
That's why we didn't go to the
buffet
buffet.
food.
We
Yeah.
would always go to the dining hall for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if we could help
Ah,
it. So, because my mom and I, like one of the meals when we first got on the ship, we did the buffet, and I was like, it was all right. And then every meal after that, we had the dining room food, so it was
but yeah, but
solid.
it's like you might as well just take that money, fly to Alaska, and go, take some guided trips while you're in a couple spots in Alaska and fly back and spend that 7 days in like the actual place you wanted to see in the first place. I feel like.
Yes and no. I don't know. I don't think I could have done all of those locations in that time frame and for what we did with the
Really?
same amount of money for hotels, travel, and then the
Maybe.
experiences. It probably would have been more than what we spent on the cruise. And there were also things on the cruise ship that, like seeing the glaciers and things like that, I couldn't have seen otherwise
Right.
because
Well,
I
now that you
saw them on
have,
the ship. Yeah. Yeah. Now
like
that
if
I
you do want to
have,
go see Northern Lights, it's better just to fly there and go see that, do that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I know when I took a cruise to Cozumel, it was just like I should have just flown to Cozumel and spent the money on a nice hotel and just stayed
Well,
here
yeah,
rather
if
than.
you're, yeah, I agree
I
with
don't know.
something like that for sure.
I
But
guess.
it was a nice experience. And if I got a good deal on another cruise, I could go again. But honestly, the
Only
land
if you tell
sickness.
everybody about the good deal. That's the only way you're allowed.
Well, so
If
the thing,
is you
the
have to share that with all of your
have to
guests.
share it
What
with
a good
everyone
deal.
I sit
Yes, of
down with.
course.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, the following week when we were getting off the ship, it was only going to be $700 for the week. And that
Ah,
included drink package and everything. But because we did the Memorial Day cruise, it was more expensive. So
right.
people were saying, oh, I wish I would have booked the week after. And I'm like, I would have had to book that like, a couple days before. It's like a plane. Like they're trying to discount.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't have rooms sold, then they lose out on that money. So yeah. Anyways, so had fun. Cruising's not for me. Not surprised by that, but also
I mean,
whatever.
I always joke that you're like a 80-year-old woman on the inside, but you're obviously not quite 80.
I'm not there
You're still
just yet.
maybe just 40. You might be like 40 on the inside.
I'm telling you, the first 4 days, I was like, I really fucking like cruising. I really like cruising. It's
Did you
because I
play
spent
shuffleboard?
no, I went to a lot of the shows that they had though. I sat and I finished 2 books. I mean, like I did a lot
Yeah.
of productive. Well, it's not worth being productive on your vacation,
No,
but
no, no. Yeah.
I've been wanting to read and just have time to just sit and focus on that. So I had that time. Anyways, I'm rambling, but yeah, cruise is cool. Youngest person there. And then the other thing I was going to mention was that over the weekend when I had mentioned, did I black out when I was on the phone with you? Well,
Right.
well, that was because I was making new friends, not trying to black out, just making new friends. I met a girl through TikTok and then she invited me to this party. And so we were having drinks or whatever. And they had a picture of, they had Aperol spritzes and then they had a picture of like strawberry lemonade, or so I thought. That was actually alcoholic, and I had about 3 or 4 of those. So then I had this like raging headache and felt like a little land sick again since I've been struggling with that. So I didn't think I was tipsy or anything at all because I'm like, oh, I'm still just dealing with land sickness. And then when I called you, you're like, are you drunk?
Yeah. I immediately, like, as soon as you started talking to me, I immediately was like, you sound like wasn't going to say, I was like, well, no, because she doesn't drink very much. So it's unusual that she would just randomly be drunk on a Sunday afternoon or Saturday afternoon or whatever. But as you're talking to me, and I was like, no, you really kind of sounded. And then later on, you told me that the lemonade was spiked, and you had no idea. But
It wasn't just me who didn't have a clue.
right. So then you got to hang out with a bunch of women your age.
No, so I was actually the oldest person. I mean, we didn't say I'm 31, I'm
Right, right.
25, but just the vibe of the conversations that were brought up, I didn't feel like I could relate to all of them. And then, of
Yeah.
course, I'm sitting there in the sun. I'm hot in the sun, drinking, which I didn't realize I was drinking alcohol, having a headache. And I'm like, I need to go home. I'm so tired and old.
Oh my God. That's
I'm trying.
fantastic,
I'm
though.
really trying. I'm going to hang out with someone after our recording and go to a dance class and be in a different environment. So maybe that'll be good. And yeah.
Yeah, first you hang out with a bunch of old people, now you're hanging out with a bunch of young kids, young whippersnappers, and you'll find your medium ground.
Well, they're like they all have houses, dogs, marriages.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Why? Like, see, they haven't gotten to that point where we're getting divorced yet. They're still too young
Don't
for that.
say that.
I mean, it's true.
I'm always still so shocked when I meet people. They're like, yeah, my husband. I'm like, the fuck? Like, it's like teenage bride. I'm like, what do you mean you're married?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah. No, there's this is just so random. There's a YouTube channel I watch of these 3 Australian dudes called How Ridiculous, and they basically just do random shit. Like, they're on the top of a dam, and they have a basketball hoop, and they're trying to make a basketball in the hoop, whatever. They act, and the way that they play around, like they're basically like 18 at most. But they all 3 have wedding band, or 2 of the 3 have wedding bands on. One of them has like kids at home and mentions like his kids doing stuff with his kids and everything. And I'm just like, how the hell? Like, it just blew my mind when I thought about that, because I did not like anticipate that in any way. Just weird sometimes.
Anyone under 30 who's married and has like serious commitments, I'm just so confused. I'm like, wait, how is that possible? There's no way.
I mean, and as someone who got married under 30, like, it was just not the right choice. That was not the right decision to do.
Even under 35, I'm looking at the years ahead going, there's no way. There's no fucking way. Anyways.
Well, before we go on break, once again, we want to remind everybody, Thursday, June 29th, you're going to come out to the Graduate Hotel in Seattle. You're going to check the show notes for the link to RSVP. It's between 6 to 8 p.m. And you are going to RSVP so that we know how many people to expect. And that's, very, very important. So please do that. We'd love to see you there. And I just want to give a quick shout out to a couple countries where we've been trending and been on their charts. So we got actually a pretty diverse list here. We've got Kenya, Jordan, Barbados, India, Tanzania, and Slovenia. So
nice.
Thank you to all of our listeners in those countries. That's pretty fantastic that we have been trending in those areas.
Always, yeah. All right. Well, we'll go to break, and then we'll be doing something new for this section.
Yes.
After the break.
We'll be right back.
We love, well, I know Adam always talks about it, but we love when people call into our DKS hotline. Again, that number is 407-519-0181. Or you can email us at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com with your questions, comments, just any random thing that you have on your mind. And instead of the what to see this week, we actually had a really interesting email from a listener after we recorded the episode, Are We Dating the Same Guy? So Adam's going to read Laura's email and we'll provide some commentary because it's an email. It's a doozy.
It's because it's an email. Yeah, it's crazy. So if you haven't listened to the episode about the Facebook group Are We Dating the Same Guy, I suggest you listen to that so you know what we're talking about. But Laura emailed us, and we're going to go ahead and read her email. Just finished listening to this podcast episode and wanted to give you some feedback that I would love for you to share. I had been on and off seeing a guy for 9 months. It's terrible once you hear the story. And although we weren't exclusive, he told me many times from the start that he liked me, had feelings for me, wanted to possibly be exclusive with me in the future. He wasn't ready yet. And he even love bombed me several times and mentioned marriage once or twice.
Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag.
I mean, yeah, let's just start. That's, the love bombing isn't a positive thing. Like, she writes it like it's a positive thing. Like, he was saying this thing and even love bombed me. That's not a positive. Love bombing is a negative thing. So let's keep that in mind. All right.
The mentioning marriage too.
Yes.
Like, okay.
I mean, 9 months is, I guess that's a.
But you don't want to commit to anything.
Yeah, but after 9 months, you can't figure out how to commit. This is already like.
But you want marriage? That makes no sense to me.
Showing some red flags that maybe should have been paid attention to. But let's say I think it gets worse. Because we weren't exclusive, I continued going on other dates and assumed he did too. But we still hooked up and talked a lot. He would get really jealous and told me I was a serial dater, and even once called me the biggest whore in the city where she lives. I was confused because we weren't exclusive, and by this point he had said he wasn't sure if he wanted a relationship or not. The problem was that he was still talking to me and wanting to hook up. I also felt like we really had a connection and that maybe he really just needed some time. So naive, I know.
If a man ever said I was the biggest whore in whatever city I lived in, that'd be fucking it.
Yeah.
Bitch, what are you? You're sleeping with me. What do you do?
Right. Like, someone, like, the fact that she responded to him calling her the biggest whore in whatever city, that she was confused No, how about you just get pissed? How about you call this guy out for being shitty? If someone calls you a whore, they don't like you. And I'm saying unless it's part of your bedtime, your
Right. Yes.
bedroom discussions and communications, which is very different. But outside of that, if someone calls you a whore, this is just a
That's
life
not a
pro
good
tip.
thing. Yeah.
They don't like you. They don't respect you. They have, they're not a good person.
Even bitch is better. Like, hey, bitch, what's up? Like, that's better
Yes.
than like, hey, whore. Like, no, that would piss me off.
Well, I know friends that call each other whores as a friend thing too. Even that, but calling you the biggest whore in something when that's just toxic. Okay. I asked him every time we would hook up if he had had sex with anyone else, and he always said no, except for one time. He said there was one other girl he had been out with. He also said he had not been on any other dates except with this one other girl. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My best friend had heard of the Facebook page, Are We Dating the Same Guy? And knew a friend who was part of the group. A simple search had the guy popping up. With over 75 comments and 2 separate posts, it turns out that he had been having sex and going on dates with, at the very least, 20 women during the time I was seeing him, but probably much more. Moreover, he was telling us all the same thing. Love bombing, calling us babe, saying he wanted to be with us, mentioning marriage, and saying he wasn't seeing or having sex with anyone else.
But she's the biggest whore in the city.
Right.
Also, like sexual health from that standpoint too. What the actual? Why would you lie? You could be putting your partner at risk.
And obviously, he doesn't give a shit. And once again, lack of respect. He's a liar. He's insulting her. Like, this guy is just showing his true colors.
Projecting. Like he's.
Oh yeah.
He's really okay. Continue on.
Keep going here. Some of the girls I spoke to on the page, he had hooked up with right before texting me to hook up with him. He was infamous also for sending his standard Saturday night hey text to, at the very least, 5 of the women in the comments, all in the same night.
I want to fucking punch this guy hard. I cannot.
Yeah, well, the nice thing is, I know that those groups have rules. You can't say anything negative about it, but we don't have that rule. This guy is very punchable. Yeah, fuck this guy.
Fuck this guy.
Piece of shit. But and I'll tell you too that if you're dating someone and you're going casually and they won't commit and they send you a Saturday night hey text, that's that's a sign. That's a sign that they are not you just can't trust someone like that.
Even before the Facebook group, there were so many problematic statements that were made and conversations that I'm sure happened that were red flags. And then the hey text.
So that should be it, right? That should be the end, would think, right?
I would hope so. I would
hope. When I confronted him early on, he apologized and said he knew it was wrong to lead women on without the purest of intentions, and that he was working on it and changing. I believed him stupidly and spent 2 more occasions with him, only to find out a second post with another 50 or so comments had been posted at the beginning of the month with him still doing and saying the same things.
I was working on it. Also,
working on what? We're on getting his dick wet with as many women as possible?
Literally, what are you working on? Trying to be are you actually going to therapy? Did you delete people's numbers? Are you committed to her? Like you said you want marriage, but yet don't? What does that mean?
Yeah. I mean, working on it would actually be taking, active steps to doing better. And I think he was taking active steps to be worse, is what it sounds like to me.
To just ignore it, really. There was no consequences. Also, because she's still talking to him and hanging out with him, he has no consequence at all, and he's still getting other women. So why not just keep it rolling?
They're continuing to talk to him even after finding out that he's doing this shit, and that's not healthy either. Don't enable guys like this, So once finding this out, I blasted him in the comments too with screenshots of what he had said to me. 5 girls reached out to me saying he had slept with them at the same time he told me he wanted to sleep with me, and that again, he wasn't seeing anyone else. When confronting him a second time, here are some of the comments he made. Okay, so these are actual quotes that he said to her when she was confronting him the second time. Now, let's just recap. The first time he said he was working on it and he was trying to be better and he understood it was a bad thing, and then he got caught again.
His wrist got slapped the first time, and the second time he was not having it.
Yeah. Here we go. I have hella friends that are girls who send me those conversations and shit on you women who post on there. Grow the fuck up. Okay, so
Cool.
right there, just deflecting.
Accountability. Yeah, obviously.
not even acknowledging. Second one here. Sounds like y'all are crying over me.
Ego.
Yeah. Here we go. Another one. Sorry, I have an amazing personality that women feel like I'm the one. And then when they figure out I'm not, they get so deep in their feelings and they cry about me on social media.
Bitch, this makes me want to punch you really fucking hard across the face.
Yeah, this
Also,
guy needs to be punched so many
but
times.
like I'm so curious, like the conversation she had with him on like there was a connection, there was whatever. Was he not in his feelings at all? Oh no, it was all fucking fake.
Yep. Yeah. Your amazing personality means you're a sociopathic liar. That's the amazing personality, is that
A manipulator. Yep.
exactly. This next one. It's evolution. You don't understand. We're hunters who are bred to love multiple people.
But when she does it, we're not bred to love
Right, of
multiple
course,
people,
because
right?
there's that standard there. She's the biggest whore and wherever, and he's a hunter who's bred to do that. Yeah, you're a fucking hunter, dude.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Your seed is not that
Someone should
wanted.
drop him off in the middle of the woods and just see how well he hunts. Next one. Sounds like you're jealous or mad that I hooked up with someone else.
It's more that you just didn't fucking tell me what was going on. You lied to me and said just one other person. And then I found out it was 20. And then I found out when you said you were going to change, you're actually not and still continuing that bad behavior. No, I'm not jealous. I'm just upset that you're not being honest with me.
And I think that's the whole thing, is that there's so many men out there that will do something like this, where they will get, if he had just said, yeah, I'm dating other people. I don't want to settle down right now. I enjoy what we have casually. And I am dating. I am going on other dates. If he had been honest with her, I feel like she probably would have been okay with it. But it's the lying and just all the shit that goes with the lying that then, he obviously has no respect for her. And that's the bigger problem.
He would have contradicted his love bombing, though, his statements of marriage, all of the other shit.
Well, you'd have to not be a liar about all those things. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If you've been honest from the beginning, not love bombing it as well, but just being honest that he's just, looking for casual dating. And I think so many men don't understand that there are women who are okay with that if you were honest with them. But it's when you lie about it that you start to you throw yourself under the bus.
Well, that's the problem. She was honest she was sleeping with other people and she was open about all of that. And then he couldn't do it. And then he just shit on her for doing it. So she's like, what do you want? Commitment? No, I'm so confused. Where do we stand? I mean, she was in a bad situation because he wasn't honest.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously she should have just blocked his ass like
immediately.
The first time.
Yeah.
As soon as he popped up with 75 comments, that should have been the end of it.
No second chances with people like this.
What else did he say here? He said, here's a couple other quotes. Because I like sex and no one wants to give it to me consistently, so I have to find other means.
Your fucking hand, you dick.
That's right.
Yeah, the hell? Right. Oh my God.
Like what a portal. Oh my God. How pathetic is that?
No one wants to give it to me consistently. Poor me.
Can we guess how long this guy lasts in bed? Because I'm going to say he doesn't believe in foreplay and he probably takes about 15 seconds.
I would say 3 minutes, but that was being generous.
You're being very generous. So that's why he needs it consistently, because he just needs someone in 15-second increments. I mean, that's a lot of sex you need just to have a healthy sex life.
The effort to then message 5 people every Saturday with what's up or like sup or whatever the fuck he was texting them. I'm like, you were just like, it was like having a spreadsheet of like, okay, here's the people I'm actively talking to. Here are the ones I could text. Here are the ones who will probably put out. I mean, he's probably going through those thought processes each Saturday or whenever he wants his dick wet.
Well, if he had been good in bed, she would have mentioned in the post. She would have been said something like,
"He's so
amazing in bed. Like, it was hard to let go, but he was so good in bed." And she never says anything about it.
She really listened to me
in bed. Yeah. Bet his balls smell like ass, probably. It's a guy who doesn't wash his ass right here. This is one of those guys because it's too much work.
Hunters, I guess, don't wash their own.
Hunters don't wash their own ass. And then he says, "I guess I am a little bit deceiving in my wording sometimes." A little bit deceiving.
All the time.
How about because constant liar. So then she says, during this entire conversation, he repeatedly said that he cared about me, liked me, and had feelings for me, but said he hadn't found anyone he wanted to settle down with. Once he got all of that off his chest, he started to open up more and said it bothers him and that he is upset and has been depressed for months. He
For
said,
him.
I know, right? Poor
Fuck.
little whatever. I have no sympathy. Here's this world's smallest violin for you. And sometimes the only thing that makes me happy is someone else in my bed. So it's a fucking cycle, okay? I need to work on it. It's just like,
Oh,
I just can't help being a sociopath because I'm depressed. And so I just have to lie and manipulate other
I'm
people and
so
use them so that
sad.
I feel better.
Sex is the only thing that's making me happy right now, and I can't function without it. So it's a cycle.
Yeah.
Fuck you,
Um,
dude.
so she said after I stopped talking to him, so I think this was probably the end. She hopefully realized. I scrolled and found other guys I had been out with before, but less seriously. One guy had a post that said he had sexually assaulted 2 women, and they hadn't told anyone to press charges. And you might be wondering why I dealt with a guy for so long, since he did have red flags, or why I decided to confront him twice instead of just moving on. To be honest, I don't think this Facebook page is enough to stop men from repeating these behaviors that are manipulative, hurtful, and dangerous in some cases. I think more needs to be done, and that the page is only a start. Is there anything that can be done? I don't know, but I do know that I'm going to continue to share these stories to whomever will listen to warn women and hopefully somehow thwart men or encourage them to change. So, what do you think about that part?
Um, I do think things can be done. I think it's easy to get wrapped up in feelings rather than fact of the first time, even before the Facebook group, when things were said, she could have cut it off. When he called her a whore and she probably didn't like being called a whore and was questioning why he said that, she could have put her foot down, been more firm and said, like, I know what behavior I'm not going to tolerate, and we're fucking done here, and not tolerating shitty behavior. And then because that didn't happen, the Facebook group was used, which I think was like an appropriate time to use the Facebook group, like
Yep.
questioning things, whatever. But after the first time and getting, like you mentioned, all like the 50 or 75 comments and all of the people saying that that happened to them, that should have been the end of it.
Well, and I think that I agree. And I think that what she's thinking is that this group is somehow going to change men directly. But I think the way it changes men is that men who are shitty like him have posts in this group. The more people who know about it, the more women who see these posts and then say, you know what, I'm not going to bother with him. Then he stops having anyone reply to his messages and starts to wonder why it is. And that might have eventually, focus his energy in changing into being a better person because he's no longer having anyone who's willing to talk to him.
Right.
And so what else can he do?
He knows people are still going to be posting about him in the Facebook group, but he's still going to get pussy at the end of the day.
Right.
So he has no reason to change.
Yes.
If all of those 20 girls or so literally stopped communicating with him, blocked his number, and he never never talked to him again, I think he would get the message a little bit more than
Right.
whatever other tactics were being used.
And if more people use the groups too to consistently check the people that they're dating and try to figure it out before they waste time when they see a red flag, then they might also, he might have things just stop in the beginning, like before they even get to know him, and he never has a chance to start being a liar, and he's like, oh wow, he's just basically getting blackballed from the dating scene. And so then you have options. You either become a better person or you become,
You actually change instead of just
yeah,
saying you're going to change and then sleep with 10
or
other
you just
people that night.
don't ever talk to women again. And I think in either of those cases, it's a win-win for women. Either he either never speaks to another woman again, or he changes and maybe becomes a better person. So
Some of those people just won't get it. They think that it's not them
yeah,
at all.
True.
And it's them figuring it out along the way, and it's totally fine and acceptable. And it's going to take, it's not on the responsibility of the woman to make sure the man learns his lesson, but to remove yourself from it as soon as you can will be so much better on your mental health.
And also any man who thinks that, well, I'm learning along the way and it's okay that he leaves a trail of, bodies along while he's doing so is it's not healthy either. Obviously, it's very toxic to be like, well, I was learning and growing, but you were also hurting a lot of people and you have no sense of ability to apologize for that. It doesn't feel like you're trying to make amends for that at all. You're just trying to use it as an excuse.
Mm-hmm. I can't help it. I'm a man who needs to fuck every day, and that's my cycle. That's not an
my
answer.
15 seconds of in and out,
Buy some toys. I know you're afraid of them, and washing your own
absolutely.
ass.
Oh, this is totally a guy that if she brought toys out would be like would call her names and be offended.
She would be a whore again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this guy's a piece of shit. I hope maybe she shares this episode with him. I think Laura, if you're listening, which I think you will be, you should probably send him this clip. Just send him on Spotify so he can hear what a big piece of shit he is and how we all think he's a piece of shit. And she's very lucky she didn't give us his name, because I'm
guessing either a Michael or a Brian.
maybe a J name. I don't know. I think it's
Jay. You think it's like
Josh or something is my guess.
Josh or a Justin.
And I'm sorry for the nice Joshes and Justins out there, but
sorry.
There's some names. But no, he is lucky that she didn't give us his name, because I would happily say his name.
Same.
Yeah, exactly. So fuck you, dude. You're a piece of shit, and you should not be allowed women at all. If you do have other questions you want to send us, you can email us at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com. And of course, before we're about to go on break, which means it's a perfect time for you to call the hotline and leave us a question or say anything about the podcast or whatever you want, so we can use it on a future episode. And that number is 407-519-0181.
Perfect. And with that, let's go to break and then talk about tone policing.
All right. So what is tone policing? Tone policing is the action or practice of criticizing the angry or emotional manner in which a person has expressed a point of view, rather than addressing the substance of the point itself. So it's a thing that people do when they're being disingenuous in a discussion. And beyond that, it also, people tend to tone, they can tone police themselves. They can, but we see tone policing all the time. So it seemed to be a topic that we should talk about. And I think we both had a couple of reasons why this was a worthwhile discussion.
Yeah. I mean, recently I had a friend tell me a story that this guy in her apartment complex was being rude to her, and he saw her one day without any makeup, and then the next day said, "Oh, I didn't even recognize you. You look so beautiful today." And she smiled and tone policed herself and didn't say anything. And I'm like, yo, what a dick. Like, say something like, that's not rude, or that's not okay to say. And she's like, well, I didn't want it to be awkward with future interactions with this guy since I see him in the building often. And I'm like, no, you should say something. You shouldn't just smile and accept that he fucking insulted you.
Yeah, like what the fuck? Like, how? It's like just the sheer audacity of a man to even like say something like that. And we're gonna just take a guess that he probably wasn't, someone who, he probably didn't look the best either. It's probably,
I'm
especially
guessing.
Your apartment complex, probably, you don't always dress it, who knows what he was wearing, but like, that's so ridiculous. That's such a ridiculous thing. And yeah, and there's this idea that that we think to ourselves, oh well, it wouldn't be polite. And by we, I mean very few men do it. It's mostly women, and I think women have been told.
It's a
by
safety
society.
thing too. What would this guy retaliate and do?
Right. And so I think and that's the risk that you're trying to run with, and it makes sense. But then, of course, sometimes you can be polite, and men will retaliate anyway. So it's one of those, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And the reason I want to talk about tone policing and as well was I had a friend of mine who is she's very attractive. She's very much she's made a living off of her looks, and she is smart, and she did an Instagram reel that was very much what I would consider to be like pick me activity. Okay. And is basically like, ladies, if a man asks you out, like a strange man asks you out when you're out in public, he's very, he's going to be very nervous, and this is very, nerve-wracking for him, because, he could get rejected. So it's important to be polite and nice when you're rejecting him. It's important just to let him down gently, and there's no need to ever be rude to a man in that situation. Unless he can't take it, respectfully, and then you have to, do what you can to be blah, blah, blah. And I just got into a discussion with her saying, well, here's the problem, is that if men were able to be, respectful, and men were able to take rejection respectfully all the time, then it would never be an issue. But the reason it's an issue, the reason you even have to have that disclaimer in there, is because so many men can't take rejection nicely. So you being nice to him, even if you're letting him down nicely, just sometimes is not going to help you. It's not going to matter. Like he's going to be creepy or weird, or
he's not going to learn anything,
violent, regardless. Yeah. And the fact that we instead of saying, hey, men, leave women alone in public, we're saying, hey, be nice to these poor men asking women out. That's a form of tone policing. She was tone policing other women and saying, don't be rude to men, don't call them out, don't be aggressive, be a polite lady when you're asked out by random douchebag fuckwad strangers on the internet. I mean, not on the internet, in public. She did not have those adjectives. I added those, obviously. So that's why I thought it was a good, good idea for us to kind of get into this, because this is something that is very pervasive in society.
I think I'm more aware of tone policing when I'm speaking and someone's doing it to me than like tone policing myself, because I'm just trying to get through the situation,
right,
and not worry about any issues that might come up. Where when someone is telling me you should calm down, or why are you being so emotional, I'm just like, bro, fuck you. Like, that's only going to escalate me even more. I'm not tone police. Like, I'm not going to put my tone at a manner that makes you feel comfortable all of a sudden.
And I think that you are someone who is. It was. I think it was funny when you and I first started talking. Yeah, how many years ago was it now?
It's like 6 years.
6 years
Yeah.
ago. I was vastly entertained with
Oh God.
with your way of speech.
Why? Because I say fuck every other
word, and you were very blunt, and you were very much, and you were not concerned with, is this something that's a ladylike? You didn't, you were you, and you were unapologetically you, and you've always been that way. I think you've grown even more into yourself over the years, and I appreciated that, because I feel like that's, that was one of the reasons that I think that even inspired the idea of a podcast, because you'd never be someone who's like, well, we shouldn't say that. You'd be like, fuck that. I'm going to say that.
Fuck them. Yeah. I don't give a shit how they feel. They need to know.
Right. And I think that you don't, and I think that you deal well when people tone police you, but even with you, I would guess probably at work, you've probably had, maybe not, and maybe it hasn't happened. I don't know if it's ever happened actively to you. You can tell me after.
Oh, yeah.
But like, I'm sure someone said something like, well, maybe next time you're going to pitch something or mention something, you keep the attitude down a little bit.
Or don't be so abrasive in how you come with your questions to the group or whatever. And like, try not to attack the other members of the team when you're asking them questions. I'm like, I'm not attacking. I'm just asking them hard questions.
Right.
That doesn't mean shit to me, but I have been told, especially in the workplace, to kind of watch how I speak to other people. And I'm like, I'm not doing it in a way that's unprofessional. It's just, it comes off to some as abrasive, where I think it's coming off as I'm asking direct questions. And since you didn't do your fucking work or your job,
right.
Sorry you feel insecure about the questions I'm asking you, do your fucking job. So that's definitely been, and I have tried to tone it, I've tone policed myself and tried to come with more appropriate, air quotes, questions, or, just something that might make other people feel more comfortable, but it doesn't get the job done, number one. And number two, it's just like, why did you hire me? What am I doing here? Like, but I also feel, because I have some kind of profession, like I'm trying to keep my job, obviously, that
right.
I'm more likely in a professional setting to watch how I speak to other people, because I don't want that to impact me negatively. And I totally get when you're coming with conflict, it's easier to be cordial and like attract honey, like bees to honey type of thing, than to go at it and just like ram your facts down their fucking throat. Like, people probably won't like that. So I think there's a level of like being direct and saying what you need to say, but also, coming about it in a manner, especially in a workplace, where it's like you can get your point across and not check your tone, but say it in a way that it doesn't come off as abrasive to some people. I know that's like somewhat tone policing, but I also think too, like, some people aren't receptive to the message if you come at it with like a really aggressive tone.
But is that their problem
manner.
or yours? That sounds like that's their problem.
It is their problem, but if you need them to understand you and to work with you in any way, it's going to be really hard for a working relationship if you're always abrasive or, just like really pushing them all the time. So it's a give and take, at least from a professional standpoint, to really push that or be.
Well, I think the question is, were you saying something that's actually inappropriate, or were you saying something that if a man was saying the exact same thing in the exact same tone, they would understand it completely? And it's only because you're a woman saying it like that they're taking it as you being abrasive.
Yes and no, because I've had male coworkers, like my past boss was a massive fucking dick, and he would come at things very, very matter of fact, aggressively, and people didn't like to work with him. And he never, checked himself or did anything else. And I started picking up on those tactics too. And I was like, I don't want the same, he got respect, but I don't want that same thought process about me to be similar to like what he's experiencing or what people say about him behind his back.
Right. But I think the thing is that a lot of things that you said that you've probably been, considered for saying, that like people have maybe said to tone down or whatever, you weren't saying anything any different than a man would in the sense that you were just being assertive. You were just saying, well, this didn't get done properly. I need it to get done properly by this time, and this is unacceptable. I mean, and if like saying things like that is okay, there should be nothing wrong with saying that, because you just said, none of holding someone accountable without like, as long as you're not insulting them.
Well, if it's an argument of two different sides trying to come together to find a resolution, I find those are the times where I kind of back off, because I'm trying to reach a resolution versus like, I have the facts, I'm asking you the questions. Of course, I'm not going to back down on that. I'm going to ask those directly. But if it's something where we're trying to collaborate together and I'm from one camp and you're from another, like, I'm going to like loosen the grip on some of the conversation so we can meet somewhere in the middle.
Right, which I think is good. That's just that's part of compromise too. I think we found that there's so many women who have just, there's actually been whole studies that show there's a whole unconscious bias that when women are assertive and stand their ground in like in business meetings and presentations and have the facts and understand the facts and are able to defend themselves, that men and women will both attack them with tone policing statements and will say things that will basically try to disregard what the actual substance of what they're saying, because they don't like their tone, because they feel like what they're saying is, that's just not professional. Even though, once again, if a man was saying the exact same things, it would be, well, he's assertive and a go-getter and he's an A-type and he's an alpha, he's an alpha, and the right. shit that they say. And I think that it even happens apparently like in school with students, like even there's an unconscious bias towards girls who are more assertive and are more, able to
speak out in the classroom on certain things. Yeah.
Like
I guess I never
the
thought about
Hermiones
that.
of the world, I guess, they get,
you know it all. Yeah.
Yeah. Bossy, you get called bossy,
right.
You know it all, and everything like that. So a couple of phrases that I think, things that are examples of when people tone police you, would be like, you need to calm down, like that, like just trying to say that when you're trying to have a discussion with them, especially when you're not emotional, like you're speaking in a voice to make sure that you're a normal speaking voice. And when people say that,
I always say, I'm calm.
Yeah.
Are you not calm?
Motherfucker, are you not fucking calm?
My mom's gonna hate. My mom says that line to me all the time. She's like, just calm down. And I'm like, no, I'm not being calm. I'm sorry you don't like what I'm saying.
I feel like parents do that a lot to their kids, to try to basically to essentially distract from the actual point that's being made and trying to.
Well, the second you say that, then all of a sudden it becomes talking about being calm instead of whatever I was just talking about, and you just derailed the whole fucking conversation, and they deflected and got their way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so that's why it's hard to respond to sometimes, and you have to then that's when you're like, don't fucking tell me to calm down, let's talk about the actual topic. Like you have to almost like start getting upset about it, and then you get upset, so it's like a self-perpetuating thing. What else? Like things like, don't be so offended, or you can't speak to me in that way. And once again, this isn't like we're talking about people who are just like, you're not just sitting there spewing insults at them and stuff like that. It's when you're like just being assertive and you're just standing up for yourself, and
they feel uncomfortable. Like, so sorry for you.
Right. Exactly. What else? Some other examples.
My favorite is, that's not very ladylike.
Oh, yes.
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, sorry. Well, fuck you. Like literally, that's when the birds come out, because I was like, I don't tolerate that.
Right. And you shouldn't have to, but it's what people try to do, to try to like, they're basically, they don't want to make a point with you. They don't actually want to listen to what you have to say. They're just being disingenuous when they say things like that. And I see it on Twitter sometimes too. Like someone will say something and a woman will be just like, go fuck yourself. I'm not arguing with you. You're not worth it my time. And then there will probably be, well, nice potty mouth or something like that. Or, if you were a real woman, you wouldn't use those words. And just like, because they don't have.
But if a man did it,
it wouldn't even matter. Yeah. It's ridiculous. You should watch your tone is another one, or maybe people would listen to you if you were nicer. And like, that's one of those things. Yeah.
That's like a punch in the fucking heart. I don't know. That feels personal.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing, is that basically it's what, that's what people use. They use that because it triggers you. And you hear it and you're like, that has nothing to do with the point you're making. They're not even trying to listen to you. They're just trying to tell you that if you had a nicer tone, that it's all your fault. It's all your fault, even if you're making a good point, for daring to speak your mind and be assertive, and that you should always be polite and respectful, even to people who are disingenuous fuckwats.
Well, the problem is when someone tone polices you too, it's only going to piss you off even more. And so then you can't help it because now you're even more upset because they just tone policed you.
Exactly. And I think this is like I had a whole thing where I had people will do this when they get defensive. They'll start to just attack anything that you say. So like if you say, well, that's misogynistic, or that's racist, or that's sexist, or whatever, they stop listening, and they just immediately just start attacking that one word because they don't like how uncomfortable they feel. And I think as we get more emotionally mature, we should understand how to sit with things that make us uncomfortable. That if someone says something, especially someone who knows what they're talking about, if a person of color says, hey, that's racist, instead of getting defensive about it and saying, well, maybe if you said it a little nicer, people would understand you, which I see happen all the time on social media. If instead you're like, I'm not going to respond at all, I'm going to think about that, and I'm going to assess it, and I'm going to really try to make sure that I'm making the right choice. I think that makes a big difference. That our emotionally mature people will sit with things that make us uncomfortable and try to figure out why they make us uncomfortable and what we can do about it, instead of attacking the person who is just bringing it to light.
You can always ask, well, why is that? Why was that statement, if you're trying to actually grow and learn? But most of the time they're not going to do that.
Don't get upset if they tell you that it's not their job to teach you how to be a empathetic person. Which,
yeah, good point.
Sometimes they're just tired of doing the labor. Because women get this a lot. Marginalized groups get tone policed a lot, but women of color get it more than anybody. And we've all seen TikTok videos or YouTube videos of like a woman who gets assaulted by a man, a woman of color gets assaulted by a man, calls the cops, and the cops telling her to calm down.
Mm-hmm.
Why would she be calm? Well, like, how about you just listen to her? You can still understand every word she's saying. She's obviously, how about have a little empathy and say, I absolutely understand why you're mad. Let's get this done. Let's try to figure out why who this guy is, or let's get him, let's arrest him, etc. Instead of then getting so condescending to her and trying to tone police her.
Now she's the problem.
Yes, that she gets up more and more upset, obviously, and then she ends up getting arrested too, and then it turned into a thing, and then that happens a lot, and it's disgusting. There was another thing that I thought was interesting, is it's not just the words, and I don't know if you knew this, but some tone policing is the actual just literal tone.
Yes. Yeah. It's how those words were delivered.
Yeah.
So I don't like how you said it like that.
I don't like how you said it. And also, well, your voice is too, like, vocal fry is what a lot of men will say when they don't.
That is so true. Holy fuck. Yeah. And they insult her voice as a way to deflect anything she just said. Yep. Holy shit. I forgot. Vocal fry is such a prominent one, especially what I would see on TikTok.
Is they immediately disregard whatever she says because they don't like the sound of her voice. And and it's always people like, it's funny when you look at people like Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk and people like that, who are like these these men that speak on these things. If you listen to their voices, I mean, they fucking sound like chipmunks. I mean, these are men whose balls have not dropped yet. I mean, they do not have any testosterone in their body, I think, and yet they always have the audacity to try to insult women's voices. And so it's just your actual voice. It's like, can women win? Like, if you're too assertive, then you're bitchy. If you're too quiet, you're cold. That's the other thing. If you don't assert enough, then you're cold. And so the only way that you're allowed to be a woman in like society is if you're bubbly and flirty. Like those, and just flirty enough, not too flirty to be slutty.
Not advanced. Yeah. Can't be slutty. Right.
Yeah. And always ladylike in your phrasing, like, which is just fucking bullshit. Absolutely fucking bullshit.
It's like what they want you to be as a professional starting out, and then they just want that to translate so much into your everyday life that you're always happy, smile on your face, talkative, but not too much, but flirty with the older men so that they like you, but then not. Yeah.
And it's really interesting. And I've seen the only thing that LinkedIn is worthwhile for sometimes is that there's some people I follow who are good at breaking that stuff down sometimes. and I will see them talk about like aspects of what professionalism really means. And that is it actually being professional, like you were saying, or is it just women getting tone policed for being assertive, and how to tell the difference, and then how to kind of say fuck you to that, like, and then that women shouldn't have to do that. There was this whole, remember there's this whole thing that went out a while ago, and you probably saw it. It was like just a chain email that was like, here's some ways to respond to things. Instead of saying, I wish you would have sent that to me sooner, say this. And instead of saying, hey, you forgot to do blah, 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 say this. And it was all basically like tone policing on how to coach things in a way that won't hurt the feelings of the recipient. Instead of saying, how about we just teach people to have some fucking accountability and not get butthurt whenever someone calls them out for being shitty. Like it's the same.
I mean,
type
yeah,
of thing.
no one likes that, but at the
Right.
same time, you're not going to learn or get your shit done if you don't get kind of put in your place every once in a while. Like, oh, I fucked that up, my bad.
Yeah,
whatever.
Exactly. So that's something that we I think it's important to talk about. So the concept of tone policing is something, I mean, as a whole, we said is obviously it happens everywhere. It's pervasive in society, and it's so pervasive to the point that, as we said earlier, sometimes we tend to, and once again, we as we're talking about women, tend to women tend to I can't say
Tone
words.
police themselves.
Tone police. That's women tend to tone police themselves. And I think that that's also just as bad. I feel like that if women were to stop doing that to themselves, then it also helps them build the tools to stop allowing other people to do it. Stand up for that. Because if you go along with it and you're like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense, then you're you're contributing to it
part
as
of
well.
it, yeah. And then you're enforcing that on other women of, you shouldn't say this, or you need to watch your language here, or whatever the case may be.
Right. And I think that's an important thing to talk about. So I had a hypothetical that I wanted to for us to talk about, because I think we both have similar thoughts on, but not like, we're still disagreeing some elements. And I think it'd be worthwhile. So if you're out in public, so let's say you're about to go to a dance class, like you said, okay, and let's say you're walking to your dance class and you're walking home, so you're kind of just sweaty and done with your dance class, walking home tonight, and a man just approaches you to try to talk to you. Does he automatically deserve your respect?
This is different than what you had in the agenda, by the way. Stop.
It says that exact same thing.
Approaches. Okay, but like, what are the? Did I drop something?
No. Just he approaches you.
I mean, I typically will just be like, hi. Like, if you're in my personal space, I'll give like a hi, hello, as like being polite. I think I always start off with just being polite until proven otherwise. Then I ignore or say
obviously
something.
If he doesn't start with like a cat call, he's not like whistling at you or whatever, but like he like kind of catches up to you as you're walking, or he's walking parallel or perpendicular to you, and then all of a sudden he starts walking with you, and he tries to have a conversation with you while you're walking home.
Okay, if he's still following me, if we were crossing paths and he like gave a hi, hello, and I said hi, hello back,
yeah,
I would be nice and polite. But if it was like a following situation, no.
Yeah. Okay. So like, if my question, just because I think that we have this idea that we should be that women should be instantly respectful to random strangers on the internet. I always say the internet, but in public. I live on the internet too much. That women should be nice to random strangers in public. And I have my theory, my feeling on it is that if a man, let's say you're stopped at a stop sign waiting for the walk, the crosswalk, and so he comes up, stands next to you, and says hi, and you say hi, and then that's it, because you're busy doing your own thing, you're not worried. And then he starts going, so where are you going? And it's like starts trying to talk to you because he thinks you're attractive and he wants to try to ask you out, like, which is the only real reason, unless they're just having a very innocuous conversation, which we will say is maybe 1% of the time. The other 99% of the time, it's because they think you're attractive and they have decided to try to talk to you. The man has decided unilaterally that even though you haven't looked at him or had any interest in him or smiled at him or had any body language whatsoever, that your very presence in public entitles him to go up and talk to you, entitles him to get in your space and waste your time just because he thinks he's attracted to you. And I find, in my opinion, that's instantly that's him already disrespecting you and your autonomy in your space. So he does not deserve respect in return.
I can see your point. Yeah. I just in reality, I'm probably going to say, like, stopped at a bus stop yesterday, getting home from the baseball game we went to, and there was a guy who sat down next to me, older gentleman, whatever, and he just started talking about like moving to Seattle, and it was like a nice conversation. I wasn't gonna like not continue it.
Well, and sometimes it is just a nice conversation. Like I said, they can be the nice conversations. But then when someone starts saying, "Oh, what's a pretty girl like you doing riding the bus," or
So
something
you
like
say
that.
no, haha, no, thank you. And I mean the laughing and the trying to make myself comfortable and him, that's definitely tone policing.
Yes.
But so that's the point where it's like I have to get myself out of here. So I'm going to tone police so I don't say something like "go fuck yourself."
Right.
And then he has a knife. You know what I mean? Like you never know in those situations, guy has some weapon on him and then there fucking goes my life. I don't know. But from the get-go, I'm not going to start with already being annoyed that someone's in my space. I'm going to at least say hi, hello, and then there will be times where I'm like, no, thank you, not interested, and will remove myself from the situation, obviously case by case. But I do kind of start with, unless otherwise,
right,
being polite.
And I think obviously it can be, but let's say you were walking to your car after the gym and someone like from across the parking lot starts yelling your name, or not yelling your name. Hey, you, hey.
No, I'm ignoring. I'm not even giving you the time of day and getting in my car.
Right.
So that's a good example. But yeah, I mean,
did you see that TikTok about that, where that woman shared that she started screaming at the guy, you need to get the fuck away from me, like right now, stay the fuck away. And he's like continuing to approach her. I'm just trying to talk. I just want to have a conversation. And she's like, you need to get in, like starts making like a huge, a lot of noise about it. Like, no, I need you to leave right now. This is not, not, and just starts being really aggressively loud. And, and he finally eventually, when people started paying attention, left. And and she was like, then talked about in her car. I was like, I'm really like, my heart's still beating a million, but she's like, but I felt like that was the only real response, because if I just kind of ignored him, he was going to keep coming. If I just, if, whatever. So like the only option was to be really loud and aggressive. And all these men were in there saying, well, maybe he just wanted to, ask for directions, or maybe blah, 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 and like,
there's a way to do that doesn't involve making someone else feel
somewhere,
unsafe.
go into a store and ask directions. Don't ask some random woman who's alone in her car. That's what you do too. You don't, like, how about have a little bit of a awareness, a spatial awareness of what you're doing. But beyond that, yeah, the fact that men are making excuses for it instead of listening to it and saying, yeah, that was creepy, you definitely made the right choice there. It just shows that men expect women to have to be polite to them when they approach them in public.
Well, it always goes back to no man's ever afraid to walk alone at night.
Right.
Versus women. So,
and the few men that are, it's usually because, it's a certain area where everyone's afraid to walk at night, but let's not even say at night. How about just daylight to the parking lot, or whatever. Yeah.
It's a known unsafe area. Yeah. Yeah.
It's definitely a privilege thing. But I think that, you, as you said, you start to be nice. If someone was like, oh, so what's a pretty lady like you doing? And even if he was older, you would probably bristle a little bit if he asked you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you would do that not out of the fact that you thought you should be polite to him because he deserved your politeness, but because out of safety.
100%. Yeah. It's not because I actually give a shit anything else he's saying. My mind's circling off. Okay, how can I get out of here? What can I do? Does he feel comfortable so I can make my escape?
Right.
Definitely. It's like a gut feeling. Like I'm sure that woman had in that TikTok or whatever, where gut feeling was, I don't feel safe here. I need to make myself as big as fucking possible by yelling and doing whatever so I can get out of this situation. Yep. Similar thing, I'm just mentally going through those, because if he's still not picking up on my cues of me trying to be polite and is still pushing and pushing and pushing, then I'm going to get to the point where I'm like, dude, back the fuck away from me. You're not wanted here. But I have to hit those steps first, where it's like, okay, code red, like you got to get the fuck out of here.
And I wonder sometimes that if women weren't like trained by society to be automatically polite in these situations, but start off interactions with basically like, you need to get the fuck away from me right now, you fucking piece of shit. Like, just like it started every interaction as if, and men were just like, what the like, and essentially like went to the crazy level that men were scared to even try to interact with them in the first place. If that we would be, how that would, and I'm not saying that's what we should do. I'm just saying, like, I wonder if that was the norm, instead of being nice and polite and allowing this person to get closer into your space where they could still hurt you if they decided if they were someone who were going to hurt you. You being nice to them or not being nice to them isn't necessarily going to stop them. versus being like so crazy that they're like, I'm not going to go near that person. That's insane. And so
Well, I feel like in a club that all of what I just said doesn't apply. Like,
yeah,
guy comes up to me, I'm like, get the fuck away. Like, because I'm in a different situation where I'm like, nah, you don't even get the benefit of me being somewhat nice to you. Like,
yeah.
don't fucking touch me. Leave my drink alone. Like, heightened awareness in other environments.
Yeah, no, I think that's true too. But I understand the need for safety, and I think that's one of those things that we do have to assess maybe. But is it actually safety though? Are you safer if you're polite, or if they're going to be somebody who's going to hurt someone, are they going to do it anyways? Like if and I think you don't know. So there's not really an answer to that, because you don't know until you reject them, and then do they turn into a nice person? Oh, okay, and they walk away, or they say,
Never.
"Well, fuck you, bitch," and they start being really shitty.
Yeah.
And so you're stuck in this weird place, and I think it's very hard. But I think but men expect women to be polite, and women expect themselves to be polite in public. And I say that men don't deserve your respect as soon as they've decided to invade your space. Like, they've already shown that they disrespect you as a human being with bodily autonomy, and that they're already invading your personal space because they have decided that you're attractive to them. And if you've given them no body language whatsoever to indicate that you're interested in them as well, and they do that, then you should be feel free to be as rude as you want to that person, because they ignored body language. They ignored everything that would tell them, in any type of emotionally intelligent person, that you're not interested in them. They ignored that just because they felt entitled to you. And that's the problem.
No, I totally see your point from that perspective. I don't think now you're gonna say I'm a pick me, or someone else will say something about, but I don't think I always am like, it's not all men, which I know, like, but like for the example of like the old guy yesterday, it's like I don't think he was like trying to be in my space or thinking I was attractive. I just think he was like being a genuine person, just wanting to talk.
No, and that definitely happens. And I think that it's one of those things, like, if I hold the door for somebody, and like whether it's a man or a woman, I hold the door, and if they don't say thank you, that's fine. Like, I'm not doing it for
Right.
thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you say, oh, well, you're welcome,
yeah,
you're a fucking dick. And that's when I'm like, oh, go to hell.
so it's the same type of thing. Like, if someone comes over and, like, if he tried to talk to you and he said, hey, I'm busy right now, and you were like, hey, because you were doing something and you didn't really want to talk to some random stranger, and he was like, oh, that's fine, I'm sorry for bothering you. That's one answer. Or if he got shitty about it, like, and I think that, you don't know, unfortunately, until the situation happens. There are people who will just have a conversation. The other day I went to the movies, and there was a woman sitting in the front row when I got there. And I walked in, she was the only person there. And I was like, hey, there was no sign outside. This is for Spider-Man, right? And she goes, yeah. I was like, oh, cool. And then as we left, we both happened to be the last two people in the theater. And I walked out. I was like, oh, that was amazing. I was like, I can't believe it's ending on a cliffhanger, and everything. And she said, yeah, me too. I can't wait for the next one when it comes out, in a year. And that was the extent of our conversation. Went our separate ways. And I think that she was kind of assessed. It was, I just talking to her because she was a person there? Or was I talking to her because she was a woman? And that's kind of the difference, I think, is that if someone's talking to you because you're a woman, then there's a sense of entitlement and a sense of,
but as a person,
but
totally fine.
just having a casual conversation with a random stranger you're never going to see again. I feel like there's not a lot of men who are capable of doing that in a lot of situations. There's a lot of men who have problems that they think, oh, woman. And as soon as you reply with anything nice or kind, they're like, oh, woman, like me now.
She wants to fuck,
yeah. Woman want fuck. That's what their little dick brain goes.
Hunter-gatherer. Yes, I'm a hunter.
Woman want fuck now, just because you're nice to them. And so that's the downfall, is that sometimes politeness and tone policing leads these idiot men to the wrong conclusion, whereas being rude to them makes it abundantly clear to even the stupidest, emotionally least intelligent person that how you feel.
Or unfortunately, from a woman's perspective, that guy coming up thinking like, "Ooh, woman, she's pretty," she might just be thinking, "Oh, he's just looking at me as another person.
Right.
I'm just gonna, be polite because why would some guy come at me with another, trying to spit game or whatever? We just saw a movie, You stopped in your example, you stopped right there and went on your way. You know what I mean? And she was thinking you were just coming at her as another person who watched the movie. If you would have continued one step further and said, where are you going after this? Are you then it's like, okay, barrier up. We're going to say something and remove ourselves
if
from
she
this.
had said something back like that, like, and continued the conversation, that I would have continued talking to her.
Right.
But it wasn't, she didn't. And so that was it. That was the extent of it. Was just, I just wanted somebody else to also enjoy the enthusiasm I had for the movie, and that was it.
It was a good movie. Yeah.
So yeah. And there are a couple other examples of self-tone policing I wanted to mention. One is receiving compliments. And we've seen this woman went through where she accepted all the compliments with "I know." Like every time someone texted her or said something like "you're so beautiful" or "you're gorgeous," she'd be like, "Oh, thank you, I know."
And that
And
really pissed men off, I'm sure. Yeah.
immediately turned into, "Well, fuck you. Why are you so conceited?" Like what it was it wasn't about the compliment, it was about a transaction, and they wanted to be someone to blow her away with this amazing traction of, "Oh, you so hot, baby." This amazing compliment that they wanted to use, and the fact that she was like, "Yeah, thanks, I know," it was just immediately like stop them in their tracks, and they didn't know how to respond. And so I think it's important to know that when you get compliments, it's okay to acknowledge them and be like, "Oh, I appreciate that. I know, and thank you very much. I appreciate it every day." Like you can say things
Right.
like
Yeah.
that,
You can say that.
but people feel it's rude. It's not rude to do that, to accept a compliment.
Saying "I know" in some situations would be a little harsh for me to use, I feel like. But if it's a shitty guy who's already trying to love bomb you or whatever, then yes, I would maybe say "I know." But if someone came up, like, for example, my coat that always gets a lot of compliments, if someone was like, "Oh my God, I love your coat," I'd be like, "Yeah, I know, it's great." I wouldn't say that.
But you
I would
could. You'd be like, "I know, isn't it amazing?" Like you could, yes, you could absolutely say that.
I just say thank you. I feel
Well,
like
yeah, I'm
thank you is
saying
like the only, like, for most situations, unless if I knew that person
right.
personally and they gave me that compliment, then I'd be like, "Thanks, I know, isn't it great?" Like, I would say that, not to just some random person who complimented me. I would just say thank you and walk away.
Well, sometimes when people say things to me like I'm doing work for them, they're like, "Oh, you're really good at this," and I'll be like, "It's like I do this for a living or something," and then like because I'm acknowledging it, and the compliment doesn't do anything for me. I know I'm good at this. I already like my ego is confident enough that I don't need someone else randomly saying I'm good at it, and I think that it's okay to say things like that. Like it's just yeah, your jacket. I know, right? I mean, it's not.
But notice the tone. Notice the tone of how you said that instead of like, "Yeah, I know," right? Like,
Oh yeah, you're not saying it like
even
yeah,
that.
you're just like, "Yeah, I know," but yeah, no, there's obviously enthusiasm because you're excited about it too, because But I'm saying it's a something to keep in mind when it comes to receiving compliments, that it's okay to just acknowledge that that you're
You are
aware
awesome or
that you are
whatever.
awesome
Yeah.
or you're great or whatever, like that you have talent in whatever ways. And then the other big one too is people who apologize, and a lot of women do this. Men do this too, though. Apologize when something has nothing to do with them apologizing. Like there's no reason. Like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that this person in front of me, blah, blah, blah." Like it's just this whole big apology. Like, how about just say, that
Here's
you
a
can say,
situation.
"Yeah,
Da da
here's
da da
here's
da.
what happened," or something that's out of your control, or if you bump into somebody, but it was them bumping into you, and you apologize. Like if someone, if you're walking down the sidewalk and someone does not get out of your way or acknowledge that you even exist and bumps into you, you say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." You shouldn't do that. That person was
Yeah.
disrespecting your space, but it's so easy just to be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and tone police yourself in that sense.
That started so early with, like, just working at, like, a restaurant job and thinking, like, you'd run into things or something wrong would happen in the kitchen and you'd have to apologize for something else, and it's like, "I'm not really sorry." And I remember someone saying, "Stop saying sorry.
Yeah,
None of this is on you. You don't
right.
need to apologize anymore." I'm like, "Oh, shit." But it was also like, I didn't know what to do in that situation. What do you do when you're in an awkward situation like that? Sometimes it feels easier to just say sorry instead of wait for them to acknowledge it or just not say anything. So that was like the awkward, instead of saying or any kind of word, you say sorry
Sorry,
because
yeah.
that fills the blank of nothingness.
Yes. I have so many, most of them are female friends that I will say half the time on the phone, like, "You have nothing to apologize for. Stop saying you're sorry. Whatever just happened had no bearing on like you saying you're sorry. Like you didn't do anything." And like it happens all the time. Something I hear pretty actively.
I have to remove that, like, just saying sorry from email communications for work or just text messages. I'm like, I reread it. I'm like, is there a use for me to say sorry? No,
Right.
delete, because it's not going to change really anything. It makes, honestly, for saying sorry so much like I used to do, it made me sound weak. I felt like it
It
just made me
does.
sound weak and just I'm just so sorry for everything happening. My bad. And it just didn't make me appear as confident. And so that was never helping my case in the long run.
That's very true. Very true. So, yeah, takeaways: don't tone police other people. Don't tone police yourself. And my takeaway is that men who get in your personal space don't deserve any respect. And you can tell them to go fuck themselves with a hot poker.
Okay, well, maybe you don't have to do that, but that solid takeaway from Adam, sure. I don't know. I think, especially if you have a professional job, after this episode, maybe you'll notice more tone policing in the workplace. Because I feel like when you tone police yourself in the workplace, and then other people are tone policing you, once you start to recognize it and you don't accept that anymore, it really translates to other parts of your life, because you're working 40 hours a week and that's a part of your personality in a sense, that then you're like, no, I'm not going to tolerate this. And you'll notice other aspects of your life where you've been tone policing yourself or other people have been doing it to you. So yes. I would say work is an easier one to notice it and then not do that. That's
good. That's an excellent point. Yeah. And don't ever be afraid to be assertive and, stand up for yourself. That's never wrong.
If you're not insulting someone, you're standing your own ground and you have facts to back it, or even actual feelings to back what you're saying, there should be no shame in continuing on with what you're saying. And when someone tone polices you, like we mentioned before, don't let them redirect the conversation. Say, great, okay, whatever, and continue on with whatever point you were making. Don't let them derail it, because that's what they're trying to do.
Yep, absolutely. Exactly right. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. If you have any thoughts on the whole concept of tone policing, or just our hypothetical about a man approaching you in the street, how you should respond. I would like to hear if people have differing points of view. And you can let us know by calling the DKS hotline at 407-519-0181, by email at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave a message on youtube.com/datingkindofsucks, or DM us through Instagram at datingkindofsucks.
You can also start this conversation yourself in our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/DKS podcast. You can interact with Adam on TikTok and get in arguments with him on there.
That's right.
His is at Adam Heath and mine is at simply Sarah G _. And then, of course, if you like this podcast and you've been a listener for a while and you still haven't given us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes, what are you doing? Stop the car right now. Go do that. Or if you're listening on Spotify, be sure to follow DKS on there and give us a rating on Spotify.
That's right. And for $5 a month, you can also support us through Patreon. We do bonus content at least once a month, if not more. And that's patreon.com/DKS podcast. And then finally, of course, we have our Seattle meetup Thursday, June 29th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Graduate Hotel. Links are in the show notes. So we hope to see you there. Please RSVP so we know how many people are coming. And the next episode after this will be the live episode from The Graduate.
Will it? I thought we were going to record another one and then have the live.
We don't have time.
We do have time.
Today is the 15th. It's in 2 weeks.
We have time to record another epi. Yeah.
I don't. Do we? Are we going to have?
We totally do. I wrote it down on my planner. We might have.
We might have another episode then. Maybe we'll see. Sarah's going to be out of town, but maybe we'll figure out how to have one regardless. So we'll
figure it out.
Yeah. So okay, then either or. It might be another episode of me.
We'll have another one no matter what. But
yes. But next one, the next one or two is going to be our live episode, which should be a lot of fun as well. So if you do live in the Seattle area, hopefully you will join us there.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add. Just please show up to our meetup. We'd love to meet you in person.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, with that, thanks for listening. Until next time. Why didn't you say your normal thing? What the fuck? You're so confusing. You normally lead it up. Oh my God.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Until next time. Okay. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yuck, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam I'm our two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers they pluck. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.